Today, we're going to talk about the top 5 retirement planning mistakes and how you can avoid them. Hi everybody, my name is Dee Burks, and this is Retirement Rescue, where we talk about how to make money, save money, and live well in retirement. Well, today we're going to be talking about some of those big mistakes, and I mean big. Planning for retirement can be really difficult. However, messing it up is super easy. So we're going to talk about the top 5 ways that people usually will mess up their retirement plans, so you'll be able to avoid those. Now, the first way, and I've talked about this repeatedly, is people do not adjust their lifestyle before they retire. And as much as I harp on this, people still do it. I always encourage people, semi-retire before you fully retire. Take an extended leave of absence or an extended vacation and practice retirement before you get there. Financially speaking, retirement is never what you think it is. It always costs more. The things you think you want to do and the things you actually do can be vastly different from what you planned. So you really want to adjust that lifestyle. You don't want to feel stressed about money the minute you retire. And so many people do. They have not planned ahead and adjusted that lifestyle. And the second big one is they don't understand or really plan specifically for the cash flow they're going to have. And the thing is, it seems and sounds so insignificant when you talk about it, people just ignore it. Like, for example, maybe you've worked for a corporate employer and you've been paid every 2 weeks, basically most of your life, But now you get into retirement and you're paid once a month. Having to restructure and budget for once a month payment versus every 2 weeks takes doing. And you think it's not a big deal, but let me tell you what it is. Ask those people who are paid monthly, those people who are on Social Security. It's a huge deal just getting paid once a month. And that is a small part of it. But when you think about money you're pulling from retirement, money you're getting from maybe working a part-time job, money you're getting from Social Security, planning for that cash flow, when exactly you'll get the money and how much, what your expenses are going to be and how to match those dollars up is an important thing. So you've got to plan for that cash flow. You also need a what if when you're talking about this cash flow. What if your cash flow isn't exactly what you think it will be? What are you going to do? Have some contingency plans before you are in full retirement. Have those contingency plans. Think about what you're going to do if things happen, if inflation takes off, if something doesn't go like it should. And that brings up number 3. And this is a huge one. It's one of the biggest mistakes so many people make. And that is assuming best case scenario. They don't count for inflation. They have their money in the stock market, but they don't expect it to drop 30%. They don't plan for health issues. They don't plan for anything negative to happen. They don't plan for that. They assume best case scenario. They don't plan for how much money they're going to use that first year or two because they're planning best case scenario. Maybe they buy an RV or a boat, or they spend so much of that retirement money right off the bat because they're assuming this best case scenario forever. That's not how it works. Those of us who went through the 09, 2010 recession area, there were a lot of people who retired right before that. The stock market was booming, things were great, and they retired. And their money was in the market and it dropped dramatically. It took several years to come back. Those people who had just retired and had started spending that money, they were taking money out of their retirement accounts when the market was at a low. that is extremely detrimental long term. So you've got to plan for things not to be best case scenario. And I've talked in the past about the fact that I tend to keep at least a year to a year and a half worth of cash to pay my basic bills. And so many people think that's way too much. But let me tell you what, if the market takes a big drop, I can wait a year and a half before I need any of that money for any reason. And that's assuming I don't make a dime. And that's why I keep that much. I have seen it happen several times. And I know if I can just write it out and wait, my retirement will benefit long term. Those people who had to take so much money out, their retirement did not recover. A lot of them had to go back to work at a time when there wasn't a lot of work for people their age. And so that's something you've got to keep in mind. Everyone assumes you can just go back to work. But what if you can't? You've got to plan for that. And this brings up number 4, health issues. One of the most difficult things for retirees, especially if you're a couple, is to retire or get ready to retire and one of them all of a sudden have health issues. This happened to a friend of mine and his wife. They had big plans to retire and move down to Florida, and they were going to open a dive shop, and they had all these plans. And just a few months before he was due to retire fully, she was diagnosed with cancer. And they decided to stay in place for almost 6 years until she could get treated, go through everything she needed to do, and hit her 5-year point of being cancer-free. Then they moved. Well, guess what? They're 6 years older. They were starting to have other issues. We assume we're going to be able to retire and we're going to be able to have these grand plans of all the things we're going to do, but you never know what your health is going to be or your partner's health is going to be. Those could dramatically change your plans. And I think it's something you always need to have in the back of your mind. Not only could those plans be changed because of a health issue, you could have a spouse or partner suddenly die out of the blue, just like I did at 50. You never know. And so that's one of the reasons it's so dangerous to always plan best case scenario. You've got to think about these things. You've got to plan for them. They may happen sooner rather than later when you retire. So you've got to be ready. And number 5, there are so many retirees who do not plan to be bored. But guess what? Once you get retired, every day's the same. Thursday might be Sunday. Tuesday might be Saturday. You don't even know what day it is. Every day's pretty much the same. Unless you choose to put things into your life, to become involved in things and do activities you really like. But you need to think about that before you get to retirement. What's next? What are you going to occupy your time with? And there are so many people that tell me, oh, we'll travel. Every single day? Every month even? Because let me tell you what, you can travel for a couple of years, but it gets old at some point. Then what? Those are the things you need to think about. What is your life going to include? And I've also had people say, oh, well, I'll visit my kids. They're going to get sick of you too. You know, you can't just crash in on your kids all the time. They'll get tired of it. They have lives. And so you really need to think through, what is my life going to look like? What is a day in my life going to look like when I don't have to get up at a specific time? When I don't have to go to bed at a specific time? This is one of the reasons, especially for people who are very career focused, they go through a depression the first 2 years of being retired, and they don't expect that. They don't expect to be bored. They don't expect to be depressed. But it happens. And so that is one of the major things you need to think about before you get there. Now, just thinking about these things and planning for them and trying to really put your numbers down specifically, getting your life in order, understanding you're going to have emotional reactions to not working or retiring fully will help you tremendously. You just need to be prepared. Retirement can be and is a fabulous time of life, but you have to plan for these little bumps in the road if you're going to have a good experience. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.